Your 3070 Ti review got me thinking. Do I have to keep saying this? The 980 Ti is only taking 398 watt from the wall. The 1080 Ti is pulling 447, and the 3070 Ti is 508. I'm never doing that again, by the way. How much of this number would be the CPU and other components having to work harder due to the better performance of the respective GPU? I mean, is the difference in what the GPU actually pull, not the TGP, really that big? So when looking at total system consumption, obviously the faster the GPU is, the more work the CPU has to do, and therefore the CPU will use more power. Presumably, all of those GPUs were tested in the same game, but newer games obviously use more of the CPU as well, so that increases consumption. But yeah, basically the new GPUs are using more power, for sure. On NVIDIA's side anyway, the Ampere GPUs are using more power because the board power has increased. But the numbers are probably being more heavily inflated as well because the CPU is also working harder, as you point out, with those GPUs. So it's kind of twofold, the power increase that you're seeing.
I think the GPU only power is really, it's only really like a for science number. Like it's nice to know you can use it to compare efficiency and you have all these nice discussions about which GPU is more efficient. But at the end of the day, power consumption numbers are relevant for consumers because it refers to the cost of running the system and the heat output. So that is why I think, in my opinion, total system power consumption is the more useful metric.
Helps with buying power supplies and stuff. Whenever people say to me, what kind of power supply do I need? It's like, well, go look at a GPU review because they're usually using high-end flagship CPUs, good amount of memory and all that other stuff, probably usually liquid cooled and all that, so there's a pump involved there. So, if they're running a 3070 Ti and a high-end CPU and all that for 400 watts or whatever it might have been then, or I think it was 500 watts in this example, then a 750 watt power supply, a decent one there, will be more than enough.
Yeah, and I think as well this total system power consumption better illustrates things like NVIDIA's driver overhead stuff, which you've talked about previously, in that, it's all well and good to offset a GPU feature to the CPU to make your GPU more efficient, but at the end of the day, those tasks still have to be run on some component.
Yeah.
So total system power consumption is a better reflection of how much it costs to run, in terms of how much the power cost is to run everything required for those games.
But people, and this has sort of come from the more traditional tech site, tech media, but they've sort of turned their nose up at total system power and sort of tried to isolate the GPU. But I agree. I don't actually think that is the right way of testing.
I mean, it's correct testing, but it's only for interesting.
Yeah.
It's only for science. Yeah.
Again, but as we know, as you say, like with the NVIDIA overhead issue, how correct is it? If there's things that the Radeon GPU is doing, but the GeForce GPU isn't, and that's increasing CPU power usage on the NVIDIA side when using an NVIDIA. So anyway, that's stuff that we can explore and look at some point when we get some free time.